I'm the host. I'm the host for tonight. Day 43 has some pressing stuff that he has to do, so he can't be here tonight. So I'm the host, and everyone should be here shortly. I'm sorry for the minor delay. I was actually streaming with Maddie on a pre-recorded stream that he will actually be featuring, I think, tonight your time. So if you're in the States, that is. So I'm going to run the intro video while... Ooh. I actually don't remember which of these videos is the intro video. Oh, here we go. Found it.
Man, thank goodness.
Hey, Tangent, what's up, bro? We live? I can't hear you, bro. Yeah, no sound. Hello, everybody. I guess you can hear me.
Shit. Oh, shit. It was just a delay. Holy shit.
That's it.
So
yeah.
I'm bringing Jexa in as well. So I didn't... That intro was just taking too long. I just decided to can it, but then it froze up. And you know how when the intro is playing, the mics are all muted. We couldn't even talk to each other to try and work out what was wrong. Anyway, we got here. I apologize for the delay, guys. I was streaming with Maddie, and so I meant to tell you guys that I was hosting tonight. So I'm not talking to the audience right now. I'm talking to these two. So anyway, here we are, and ready to go. How have you guys been?
Yeah, going well, mate. Thanks for taking over the driver's seat tonight. It's all fallen apart without day 43 here today, but that's all right. We'll get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, I've missed the last 2 or 3. I think I've missed 2 or 3. So come straight back in from not being existent at all to being the host.
And you have been busy streaming quite a lot, though, haven't you, on your own channel?
Unfortunately, also no.
All right, I thought you. Well, you done. I thought you done
quality
one
over quantity. Quality over quantity. I did a video yesterday about Hex on ETHW, and the one before that I did was about liquidity pools. So the videos have been sort of like important alpha content. So rather than streaming every day, it's just the ones where I'm like, I need to stream about this.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll get into that tonight. Because I know
Absolutely.
You've been playing around on it. I know Bluey's been on it, and I've been all over it as well. So yeah, it'll be good.
It's been a hot topic as well.
Oh hell yeah, it's been awesome. Like it's been a good dry run of what we can expect Pulse Chain. Now there'll be obviously a lot of different, and but there is so much that is the same. It's been a good testing ground to try out some of your strategies that you thought might play out, and a
lot of similarities. I think the biggest similarity is when I give the broad commentary that it is the same as Pulse in the sense that it is identical system state with different consensus algorithm. So in that sense, at that very high level, it is very similar to Pulse Chain.
Yeah. So I left the last.
Sorry, I'm just trying to.
But where I left them.
Go ahead.
Where I left it last night was that I just saw that a bridge was up and stables. So,
really? A bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say that everything I've done on there, I've not injected value onto that network. So I haven't taken funds and put it on an exchange and swapped it into ETHW and moved it onto the network, and I haven't bridged anything. Like, to me, I'm not that keen to go injecting value on there. Everything I've done has been
that's smart.
based
that's
on
low risk.
exactly what was forked across. So
that's pretty much what I've
it's
done.
a whole another level of risk if you start bridging things in this early and stuff like that. So I just wanted to put that out there as a general.
I
be
assume
careful
that when people talk about bridges, I assume people want to bridge out. But you are right that it's two-way thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was the same at first, Jexer, where I did not. I started only just with the tokens that were over there, and it wasn't until later that I started to bring in a bit of ETHW from exchanges.
Oh, okay. So you have actually
just to buy more hex.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I ran out, so I wanted to accumulate as much hex as possible, and I ran out of tokens and stables, and there are some things you can't sell. There are some things that you can't sell. Like, there are some tokens that were not sellable. They're just, the liquidity didn't exist there. And things like NFTs and stuff like that you can't sell. But everything I could sell, I literally sold into hex. I literally went all in on hex as soon as I got access to that chain. And then obviously once you're all in on hex, if you want anything else, then I didn't want to sell any of that hex. I was like, all right, the only thing I can do now is go and start
more money.
So you think this one's got a bit of longevity in the chain, do you?
Yeah, I do. I was actually just talking about it with Maddie, and one of the comments I made was there was a news article about Grayscale that came out that they said they want to dump all of their ETHW coins. They don't want to hold any. However, they are going to wait until the liquidity is better so that they can extract more economic energy. But the positive side that I read into that is that also means that they are demonstrating in waiting that they believe that it is not just going to all collapse in a heap between now and then, or that they're willing to take that risk.
Man, but they're going to come along and just murder it, which they can only do once.
They could do it responsibly. Like in terms of rather than doing market, they could use limit orders or OTC. Actually, I guess if they were going to do OTC, if they were going to do OTC, they wouldn't need to wait. They could do OTC right now. Yeah. They don't need to wait for liquidity if they were going to do that. So, but I just thought, look, there's two sides to their commentary. One is saying we don't want to hold this, which is a negative in terms of their sentiment towards it. But the other side of it is we believe it's not just going to collapse in such a short amount of time that we need to dump immediately.
Oh, this is the Grayscale. That was really.
I think
that was a very bizarre statement, because it's kind of like a sort of Damascus, whatever you call it, like hanging over the head of the price of ETHW.
Oh,
it's like, why would you come out and say we're not going to support it? You just keep it. You just hold the tokens and see what happens. It's a really weird position.
What I understood they were going to do was give the funds to the Ethereum Foundation. Did I just dream that up, or was that something I read?
No, well, what I saw was they were going to dump it as soon as they could, and they just needed the liquidity. So it's like, well, why don't you dump it? Why don't you dump it now? Like, you'll drive the price down to like ridiculous levels, but then people can buy it up. It's like, why would you say, "Oh, we're going as soon as you start putting money into it, we're going to take it as much out as possible"? Like, they're actually trying to fuck it up.
Flood it. Yeah. Well, I guess for me, and maybe I'm totally wrong on all of this, to me, I don't see this as being a chain it may be around for a long time, but I just don't think it's ever going to be the main competition for ETH or anything, or be anywhere close to it. I find it very hard to believe that a lot of hardcore development teams will leave the proof of stake network to come and support their protocols.
If you look at what happened, even just with Maxi and Hedron, it's not like you have to. It's the same. It's identical code. So it's the work required to support both is actually pretty minimal. Like the marginal additional work is actually tiny to support.
I think
both.
You'd be surprised. I think you'll be very surprised at that. So the reason why Hedron, Hex, Maxi, all those work really well is because they leverage off of Hex, and Hex has been built from the ground up to be true DeFi. So therefore they don't have any external references to anything else. So the only reference they've got is on blockchain to Hex. Whereas most other DeFi protocols don't fall into that category. Like there's a lot of things that are broken, and just by virtue of having stable coins as part of their ecosystem, and whether it's DAI or Maker or whatever, like they've got all these interdependencies that just mean they can't just flick a switch and everything's going to be sweet. It's not that simple. So
as soon as they have a stable coin that everyone agrees has value, then that's
you only need one. You only need one stable coin, like one decent stable coin.
Then you need everyone to come and I could be wrong, and they may come and do it, but my gut feel is knowing some conversations I've had being with the liquid loan stuff is there is very much a hardcore Ethereum group of devs.
People blow Vitalik.
They hate it.
This is why Ethereum as we knew it, the main Ethereum as we knew it, beat the more legitimate code is law Ethereum, was because Vitalik has got a cult following, and that. So I agree with you to a point. The Ethereum will always be considered, the proof of stake Ethereum will always be considered to be the main real Ethereum. But what I was saying to Maddie is that the difference I see between, say, Bitcoin Cash, which was the first Bitcoin fork that had probably the best chance of any kind of decent survival, is that with that fork, people had to choose between the two because they were basically very similar other than a few small parameter changes, and different community and miners, although you can switch. Whereas over here, there's a legitimate point of difference is the proof of work versus proof of stake. We actually have ETH.W, and ETH.W currently has actually got lower fees and faster transactions, which is beating Ethereum.
The interesting thing.
That's the interesting thing, right? It's beating Ethereum to its own path, its own roadmap. The
user experience is better on ETH.W.
For Hex users.
Like it's quicker. No, or any Ethereum users really.
But I'm saying most things are broken at the moment. That's why your fees are low. So there's just not the volume of transactions going through.
Okay, maybe, but also, fees are low on. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
maybe, and we'll see what happens when they bring the stable coin in. But they're working on it.
Yeah, look, it's kind of like if that comes in and that's a success, that's a big win. That is a big win, and that will give it a bit more legitimacy for sure.
But also makes you question, like, why is something more popular if this other thing is actually got a better user experience? Like, why wouldn't you just use
network
better
effect
user experience?
Network effect.
I know, but
they've taken the network effect.
But really, it's like they're exactly the same. Like literally exactly the same, pretty much.
The only real community using the proof of work chain is the Hexagon community. Like we've shown that on chain with
volume,
the transactions.
Fair.
It's insane. Like we've been gearing up for this very moment for over 12 months. Been on a test net, know what was going to happen. Like we're basically had a dry run on the test net for 12 months, and it was like this was a gift where you can go your hardest and.
So what do you think,
Bluey? I think the best example is actually NFTs. So I've been thinking about this where with NFTs, the reason why they have the most value on Ethereum, and when people try and do NFTs on Solana and NFTs on AVAX and NFTs on other chains, that they have fractional, like minuscule value. In percentage terms. It's almost like everyone kind of has to agree which is the legitimate chain. So like a bit like in Bitcoin, you either all get some kind of consensus over what is the legitimate chain, or you admit that nothing has value. So it's kind of like this scary thing where people are like, well, if we admit that this other chain is kind of like the exact same shit, then where does it end? Where does it end? Because it's open source and it's forkable. And you saw what happened in Bitcoin. It just got forked into oblivion until no one gave a shit, right? There were Bitcoin forks that happened that you guys probably never even heard of. Like you could almost, no doubt, I reckon you could guess a word. And there's a Bitcoin that. Like there's Bitcoin Black, there's Bitcoin freaking Diamond, there's Bitcoin everything. And so I think that's part of why Ethereum, and now proof of stake Ethereum, has held its like crown as the real deal and where the value is. Look at how crazy high the fees have been, not just recently, throughout, CryptoKitties spiked the fees back, in 2016 or 2017 or whatever.
17.
Like, it's like that, and this is why fee when a chain's narrative is we're like Bitcoin but with lower fees, or we're like Ethereum but with lower fees, it doesn't fly because people don't give a shit. They want to be on the chain that everyone agrees is the value chain. We won't have that problem with Pulse though. Don't panic. We won't have that problem with Pulse because the community is so strong that it will have that legitimate innovation and build out, and like Pulse Chain is going to be amazing. It's not going to have that. It's not going to suffer from that.
It's okay to have like a premium chain like Ethereum where everything to do on it comes at a premium and it probably attracts more or holds more value because of that, and people perceive that to be the top tier. That's where the NFT should be if you wanted to get value. But we're seeing that value carved off in all these other chains. Like Solana is getting a lot of value, and a lot of NFTs are happening on Solana. And that's fine. They're all going to do that. They're going to carve out their niche. But that doesn't... And yes, some of that value gets dragged away from Ethereum. But that's that horizontal scaling sort of thing. So there's nothing wrong with that. You can still have a premium chain. And Bitcoin was that for a while as well. Now, the fees have been pretty good on Bitcoin. But everyone was saying, okay, that's fine. We don't want to use it like a peer-to-peer currency. It's a store of value. So therefore, it's okay to have like higher fees on it. So it's all just narratives in the end. But like I say, if the majority of developers are on Ethereum and everyone that's got the gravitas to keep everyone engaged, it will be the premium chain and people will pay the premium fees to be on it. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So, but yeah, so in terms of the proof of fork version, I reckon it's a great playground. Have fun. Just treat it for what it is, because it may go the same path as your Bitcoin caches and your SVs and whatever else it bloody is.
Yeah, especially currently, the value of anything on that chain is directly proportional to the value of ETHW, because that's the only way out. So if ETHW tanks, everything goes down by that ratio. Currently.
Not necessarily.
Sorry. You said there's a bridge now. You said there's a bridge. Prior to the bridge.
Well, also,
my comment was prior.
No, but also we're seeing everyone like you jump over there and buy up Hex. And so all of a sudden the price of Hex over there relative to to the ETW is like going up pretty much.
But it's ratio trading, and the only way out is through ETH. So something can go up. So
Yeah. The USD price of ETH is really the oracle for how much everything else is worth.
Good point. To clarify, assuming that for that moment in time, the ratios of everything else stay constant, which I know will never happen for any long period, but assuming that people aren't ratio trading the stuff, at that moment in time that you want to cash out, the gateway out matters how much ETHW is worth at that time, is all I'm saying. Sure. Like, yes, the ratio of Hex can go up versus ETHW, and then ETHW's dollar value going down can therefore be offset. That's what you're basically saying, that Hex can go up relative so that even if that goes down, you're still making money or you're still going up. But I just mean all things held consistent. Oh, Sammy's here. All things held consistent, it matters on the ETHW thing. Hey, Sammy.
How are you, Sammy?
No, Sammy.
You got the latest on from your trip overseas, have you?
Yeah, hold on.
We can't hear you, Sammy.
We can.
We can.
You can? I'm plugged in.
Internet.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, it's either a mad delay or like, I think it's a mad delay.
It's like, yeah.
It's a weird delay because it's chopped and late.
Yeah. Say something again, Sammy.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, a bit choppy. We really need to sort out your internet, Sammy.
We need to sort your internet.
I know, right? Can you?
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's pretty.
Bluey, what's your thoughts once the stable coin comes across? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, it kind of legitimizes the whole thing to an extent, and because all of a sudden everything has USD prices. If we have a USD that everyone can get out of, and so I don't know how other people. I don't think like the heck. It really is. The hexagons.
Like the heck. It really is.
What's going on?
Oh, Sammy, I think we're getting. We're getting an echo or some kind of.
Okay.
I'm just trying to fix my. Mute myself.
Have you got headphones, Sammy? Sorry, Sammy. Now you're muted. So
I think before we come on next week, we'll have to have a quick chat. We'll see if we can sort it.
Is that better? Just carry.
I think it's still got an echo because I heard Jexa talk twice just a second ago.
Yeah. So if the stable coin comes over to ETW and it works quite well, like obviously hexagons are going to be trading over there, and probably only hexagons mainly, unless the stuff over there starts getting actual value. Then I think that maybe a few of them will come over and to dump it. But people don't. Hexagons are the users, people who really kind of jump onto the technology and start using it, and can like we had all of this like practice with the testnet, and now when the ETW comes out, it's like everyone's onto it like that. It's like, okay, you just change the RPC settings. I go over there, and to be safe, I might send it all to a different address, and then I just start playing around with whatever I want to play around with. And I don't see other communities doing that. Other communities, like they probably have most of their stuff on exchanges. If maybe some have worked out it's not a good idea, but like,
yeah,
I don't think they're
none of the stables held peg. Do they all went to zero? Like all the stables?
It's hard because it's sort of a ratio sort of thing. So they're not. I'd have to go back and have a look. Much. So when I first went over and I had a heap of true USD. and that was holding peg essentially. So I managed to get rid of all of that before it crashed and burnt. So it was just why those ratios were initially set, and I managed to do a right out of that. Basically, I just sold it for whatever I could, ate the slippage on it. I knew it was going to be worth nothing within a few hours. Which is
Stables was the first thing I dumped. Stables was the first thing I dumped. I literally exited all my stable positions straight into Hex.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I think we've been pretty vocal that was probably always going to be the case on Pulse Chain as well, where they're just not going to maintain value. Yeah, so I think that was good to see how that actually played out, and you would have expected that to happen. Just coming back to your comment, Blue, I reckon a lot of people, I think there's two different tiers of users. There's users that only play on exchanges and they don't understand how to set your RPC settings and do all that sort of stuff. But then there are a lot of very savvy users that probably use all the DeFi protocols, you make a DAOs and things like that, which would know how to do all this. But the reality is they can't. Like, those protocols are broken on the network. So because they just can't. Yeah. They can't come and play with them. The front ends wouldn't work, and they wouldn't have oracles and all sorts of things. So they're literally not functioning over there. So what I think you might see, and maybe this is possibly what's happening with price of ETH-W now, I've seen a massive fall off a cliff where anyone that was probably given it on an exchange just insta-dumped it and offloaded whatever they could initially. Looks like it's maybe bottomed a little bit now over the last 24 hours and is starting to climb back up. So it'll be interesting to see now that you get these other waves of people come through. So we had all the hexicans and pulsicans, they were really early adopters because they knew what to do. They were able to get in there and play with it. And now I think you're probably going to see other waves of people come through as more exchanges support it. That's when you might see people inject value on it because they... Sorry, you go.
Would you say that if none of the algorithmic stable coins held peg on the fork, then obviously they're all failed. They've all failed in their decentralization / pegging test.
But understand they're not algorithmic though.
So, no, but some of them were, like, say, I don't want to say their names and shield them out, but there were coins that claimed to be actually truly algorithmic, like the ones that were what's it called when it's debasing or basing or debasing or
rebasing?
Rebasing. Thank you. You know, those are supposed to kind of like regulate themselves through that.
I reckon they'd be the first to go, to be honest. I'd be surprised if they survived. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, ultimately, it really comes down to how people treat it. And if everyone thinks something doesn't have value, they're just going to dump it to zero, which is what happens with USDC and DAI and UST.
Yep. Is there any hot tips you'd like to give anyone, Tangent, on something that went well for you, or was it too early to give up that sort of info?
What I look for in LPs is a volume to liquidity ratio. And there are certainly LPs over there at the moment, and Hex or Hex ETH-W or Hex wrapped ETH-W or whatever has huge volume, daily volume compared to the amount of liquidity in the pool. So as far as an LP plays, and sorry, did I say huge volatility? I meant huge volume. Huge volume. It also has huge volatility. It's got both. So high volatility and volume. And I guess that volatility is something that is usually an indicator. If you're seeing massive wicks and huge volatility, that usually indicates that you do have that ratio of thin liquidity and high attempts to trade volume. So if people want to experience what it's like to print money in an LP, that new chain, or like to have a high print of tokens, not necessarily in terms of the dollar value, that's a pretty good. And also playing around with LPs can get expensive if you're on a high fee chain like Ethereum, because especially if you're doing something like V3 where you want to actually narrow the band that you're providing the liquidity in, moving that around can get very expensive, like removing the LP. And also even just re-rolling the fees that you've earned back into the LP so that you're doing like compound yield rather than just simple yield can also get expensive. So this is like a low fee way of experiencing what it's like to learn how to be. And also you can use free tokens to do it. So you can effectively start, you can experiment. This is something I love about this chain. You can go and experiment on this chain without injecting any of your real world financial economic energy and experience this chain, play around, learn, actually try being in crypto for the tech for once in your life. And if one of your plays works out and your investment thesis, it plays off, you can make serious real money.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? So you're learning and experiencing and and doing all these different things. And there's actually also a chance that you will make real coin, like serious coin.
Yeah. I think the one of the big takeaways was all the dollar value pricing was just up to shit, wasn't it? It was like you'd put a figure of hex in there and it would go into the
estimates.
Yeah,
I think that was the problem with the oracles. I think like no oracles or broken oracles, or it's still thinking that you're on ETH or something like that. So it's looking at ETH prices or something like that. It's
that's what
Matty actually just
thought. Yeah,
Matty tried to explain to me what he thought was the reason it was going on, but I think he still thought I was talking about the ratio trades between stables and hex and whatever asset you're looking at. But what we're talking about, what I assume you're talking about, and what I was talking about is those estimate numbers, which are actually different again. So it was really weird. Like, so as an example, you'd put in, I want to sell 5,000 hex into ETHW, and it would estimate, it would say, you're selling $11,000 of hex into $4,000 of ETHW. And like, it was just, everything was completely wrong. Like, it was just wrong, like everything wrong. So like it wasn't even correct. It wasn't even correct within a ratio that was explainable. You couldn't even go, oh well, this makes sense because this ETH is like 150 times cheaper than the real ETH, so then, or any shit like that, or the stable has crashed by 95%, so this is this much higher. Like, I looked at all the ratios of the things that could explain it, and I'm like, this is just flat out broken. Like, there's no reasoning that I can come up with for these prices.
So the takeaway from that for me is, if you don't understand what this is doing, and you think you're going to be a king when Pulse Chain launches and try and trade everything before you get value over there.
Yes, you are ratio trading. You need to understand what ratio trading is. And if you don't, you're probably going to get wrecked.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. It's pretty simple. It's just like, okay, over on ETW, what's the only token that you can get off and into other stuff? It's ETW. Yes. So then you just go look at the price of ETW, whatever it is, and then
but you've got to do that in your head, because it's
you've got to do that in your head.
Yeah,
because whatever USD value is that's broken. That's what it's giving you. Yeah.
Yes.
But as soon as they get it stable, that would be solved.
I don't know.
Maybe not necessarily. Yeah. Like,
I'm not too sure about that
how things get their feeds and how many sources they use and stuff like that.
I think part of the problem is there is so many pairs there that will still have the old stables in there.
Oh yeah, right.
All
the old pools and everything. Yeah.
So that's going to be the interesting thing.
They'd be pretty drained by now, though. You'd think.
You'd think so, yeah. Yeah. So what's going to be interesting is to see whether someone can prop up those pools somehow. That would be
You know what an interesting?
Yes.
You know, it's a really great learning experience for people who want to provide liquidity. Like, you've got all those coins over there. Just go over there and throw something in a liquidity thing. And you know what you can do is you can actually, because it's so cheap to do, you could start liquidity pools. So, which is a really interesting thing to process to go through.
And the
problem
is if you try to start a liquidity pool that brings something back up to the ratio that you want it to be, you will get
that's what you have to be careful
of. You will get wrecked. That'll get stolen.
That's what you have to be careful, because you're setting the price when you start.
You've got to be like, you've got to be whale status if you want to use an LP to correct.
No, you don't.
Yes, you
do. You can put in a little bit as well.
No. I'm not saying for general LP. No. I'm not saying for general LP use. I'm saying if you want to try and fix a ratio using an LP, like if you're like, I'm going to try and like get this stable to be worth $1 again. If you are not a whale, you will get wrecked by ARB bots, because as soon as you put it in at the ratio that you think it should be, it'll just get ARB'd out immediately. You'll just get rinsed. So I'm not saying you need to be a whale to mess with LPs. Anyone can mess with LPs. I'm saying if you're trying to use LPs to fix ratios, you need to be a whale. You need to. So yeah, you need.
That's a stupid idea. Like, you're not going to fix any ratios by putting a different pool in.
Well, wasn't that what you guys were talking about in terms of someone using an LP to fix the stables, like fix a stable?
You wouldn't fix the stables. You
could if you were a whale. If you were big enough, if you had big enough bags, you could fix it. You could fix a stable ratio if you were a whale. Like Richard could do it.
No. What do you mean fix? What does fix mean?
Like you would just add so much liquidity. Yeah. Or to whatever it is that you're trying to fix the ratio. No, because there's going to be different
user behavior over there. It's not going to last for 1 second.
Let me be clear about what I'm saying. If you are a huge enough whale and you have huge enough bags that you can add an LP in at the ratio that you want it to be, and you can make it such a thick book that even once people try and ARB, even once bots and people try to ARB out against different shit, that it still does not drain it, then you can set that ratio. It's the same theory as.
Yeah, but that's ability. Yeah, that's not.
No, it's not. No, it's
like
not.
Imagine,
it's not. Especially not.
This is actually
especially not when these LPs over there have like the Hex ETH LP has like 17K worth of liquidity in it. Like the LPs over there are thin as shit. It wouldn't. Richard could easily do. So
if you were the OA, would you grab a whole lot of your Ethereum Hex, wrap it, take it over to the Ethereum proof of work chain, and pair it with?
You don't need to. You don't even need to bridge anything in. Even just with his. Even just with his mirrored tokens, he could do it. Richard Hart with his mirrored tokens would have enough bag size over there, given the thinness of the current liquidity, to fix any ratio that he wants. Trust me, I'm serious.
When you say fair ratio,
all you need is the LP to be deep enough. Guys, do you remember the last time that you guys disputed something like this against me and it ended up that I was right? You need to trust me, I'm right about this. All you need to do is just make.
What I'm saying though is,
if you can make the book thick enough, then it doesn't matter how much people try and arb against it, and you'll just against it, and other LPs that exist. You'll just get dragged up to your level. Get dragged. So effectively, Sammy, I think the echoes happen.
Sammy, I think there's.
Sammy looks guilty.
so remember when Richard taught everyone is that if you have infinite LP, then the price cannot move.
No, I totally agree.
This is
a similar theory. If you make the book thick enough. Oh, so Jexo agrees with me. Cool.
Yeah,
I thought you guys would disagree.
But what I'm saying is, what would you, if you were going to bridge in value, what would you bridge in? Like you take a big.
If I was trying to bring, well, I guess I've already answered that question by what I've been doing. I've been buying ETH on non-KYC exchanges and bringing that in.
Yeah. So,
but you're saying if there was a bridge available,
if you wanted to try and fix ratios with something of a known value, what would you bring in? And because there's a big risk to bring in.
I think this whole idea of fixing something is ridiculous. Yeah. Like to try to bring it into parity with ETH which is what I think what you mean by fixing is just it's a completely different market with a different value and different players, and this is going to have different like attributes to it. And I think what would happen though if the OA decided to bridge a whole lot of Ethereum Hex over there and pair it with, I mean, that's the closest you'll be able to get to having some sort of parity
The fixing only matters for stables, right? We're purely because fixing only matters for stables. I'm not talking about trying to like force prices on anything else. Everything else should have floating ratios. All that matters is that the stables aren't fucked. So,
but they're going to change as soon as people start trading. People are going to have different prices from Ethereum.
I think the easier way of doing it is to have either a new stable coin that didn't get wrecked at the start of the chain, that people, because what keeps a stable coin stable mostly is people's belief in its worth of $1.
I differ. I think adding a stable coin in now is going to make fuck all difference. You've already got value injected.
Even if it was like backed by a bank that people trust to give them the actual dollar.
Value is already injected on the network. So by virtue of there being exchanges that hold ETH-W, you have just brought in a value onto the network. And this is what I was saying probably 6 months ago.
What about something like liquid loans deployed on that chain
Doesn't matter.
that has its own stable that actually is legitimately backed or whatever?
Doesn't matter. The value's there. And this is what I was saying ages ago. I said, everyone's saying, we're going to get 2 or 3 days of no value on Pulse Chain. And I reckon that's not going to be the case. And the reason being is Richard or whoever can not have a bridge. And that's fine. That means people can't bridge in value that way. But he cannot control exchanges from listing Pulse. And as soon as Pulse is listed and can go in and out of the network, you have just injected value through the whole network.
Yeah, well, to add to that, something that's scary in terms of the trying to have zero value at launch is that they had ETH-W IOUs before the chain even launched. So, then it becomes dicey from a legal standpoint was there?
That's a bit separate though, isn't it? That's not really linked to value. It's as soon as
But then those pairs became the real pairs. They somehow managed to do it where then you could actually send to that pair, I think.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. But if an exchange never enabled the transfer of Pulse from their exchange onto the network, then the value wouldn't flow through. It's not until you can actually move value across into the network. That's when you've got value in there.
So I don't know if this comment is going to actually be arguing slightly against what you're saying, but I strongly believe that you do need so if you're saying, we don't need to worry about it because there's value there and there's an exit, that's fine. But you kind of do need a stable within an ecosystem because
definitely
want to be able to hedge and totally actually go risk off.
Yeah.
So we are in agreement that we do need a stable coin for that ecosystem.
Yep. Definitely.
So you're just saying that it's
I don't think it'll change the value. I don't think it's going to the value.
I also agree with that.
Yeah. So value is all being spread through the network. Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
The only advantage is you get that stable point where if you want to go back and forth between a stable and not ratio trade, you can.
Are there people within our community that think it's going to change values? Because I fully agree with that.
I think a lot of people. So my main takeaway is this 2 days no value thing. I don't know if it's a thing. I don't know if it's going to be possible to control that. Maybe for an hour or two before exchanges enable transactions to flow through.
I think for taxation purposes, you only need to be able to suggest or you only need to suggest that it had zero value for even a millisecond. You're basically saying, when it came into existence, at that point, at that genesis point, it had no value, and then a millisecond later, it had value.
Yeah, no, that's totally agree with that. Yeah. So I think that you're right. So at the point, at the singularity point when the buttons pushed and tokens are minted.
The buttons pushed. Yep.
Yeah, because let's face it, an exchange can't enable anything until all that's done anyway.
Yeah.
You'll get that singularity point.
Even if they're fully ready and it's just the click of a button, the time it takes them to click that button, it went from zero value to having accessible value. Yeah.
Yeah, but having this big drawn out window where value is not going to be on the chain. That's always been my big point of contention.
I agree fully with everything that you have just said.
So,
and I don't think we need it. I don't think we need it. I don't think we need a drawn out period with no value. This is a tax loophole, not it's not like what were people hoping to achieve other than being able to say, I got this asset at zero value. That's the only value in starting at zero, is that statement that avoids you having a tax liability from the airdrop. That's the only, that's the only value in this starting at zero. You're not actually ever buying anything for zero. So it's not like, oh, I wanted my 2 days where I could start buying things at zero. That doesn't make any sense. You can't buy things for $0.
Yeah, swapping it for something else, which is supposedly
you can still do all that. But like Jex is saying, those ratio trades are literally identical. You are going to get the identical ratio trading, whether there is linked value or not.
Yeah, but what you can hang on, what you can do is interesting stuff. Like you can put everything, you can put like Maxi and Hedron and all whatever is working. You can put that in terms of hex as a price in terms of hex.
Okay, good point.
And therefore, if you kind of go, okay, I want to increase my hex position overall, then you can start trading on those.
You just answered my question. Sorry, you just answered my question. If you want to adjust your portfolio and your strategies and you want to move assets around into different shit and also have it in a period where there's no tax implications and taxable events, then you need it to be all zero value through that period. Otherwise, you are suddenly making moves that are, in some jurisdictions, by the way, will be classed as taxable events. That's a very good point. So so there's two things going on here.
Yeah, bugger the tax.
There's two things going on here from a tax loophole event. One is the starting at zero. That's very important. We get that regardless. Remember what we just discussed. Even if it's like a microsecond, it's enough to get that side of things. But then what Bluey's talking about in terms of portfolio adjustment and maybe staking things and other things that you want to do to set yourself up, because obviously people want different shit over on that chain than they do on ETH. That shit actually relies on you doing it within that window while it's zero value. However,
you can do it anytime. You can do it anytime. I can do it now.
No. Not if you don't want it to be a taxable event. Hang on. Not if you don't want it to be a taxable event. I'm doing this within the context of avoiding taxable events.
It's still taxable events. It's just that if
no, it's not. Not if everything's worth zero.
Hang on.
Not if everything's worth zero.
I know that's the thing. If you can prove that it's worth zero, then
So you're saying the same thing as me. You're just saying a slightly different way.
They're still tax value.
Yes.
But anyway, this is what I'm curious about.
That's also a fair point. That's actually also a fair point. Maybe it still is a taxable event that you need to record, but you would just be recording that it's an event at zero value. That's actually not a bad point.
What I'm curious about, Jex, I want to ask you this, is this, with something like liquid loans, where all of us, they've released this front end or whatever, so people can play with it on testnet. So it's like, okay, it's all working. Why don't they just release it on ETW? Like, why don't they just go, okay, let's release it. We'll give ETW a stable coin. And
that's
not
a sick idea.
We give all of our sacrifices. We just give all of our sacrifices all of this blah blah blah. Like we told them.
Yeah.
And then you could try that all out, and then you'd have a stable coin on ETW, and you could get market position as the stable coin on ETW.
Bluey for the win. Bluey for the win.
What we don't understand. We don't understand. It's already. Oh, I was going to say it's already operational. So Liquidity is already operational on the.
Liquidity didn't hold its peg over on ETW.
I got to be honest. I didn't even have a look. I actually tried to liquidate a few vaults and things like that, but someone else beat me to it.
So does it have a front? Did they do a front end? Are they gonna? Because it's a front end thing as well, right?
I'm pretty sure I know who done all the liquidations, but So that was an opportunity.
You think you know who got all the liquidations of Liquidity ETH?
Yeah, well, there's not too many people that would know what to do. So.
No. I thought you meant you knew like the biggest ETH whale in existence. Like, but you meant from a technical who might have been able to technically be able to do it, not the whale that was big enough to cop the. But doesn't it go across everyone in the stability pool? Or, like, you can have the technical competency of pulling the trigger, but it gets spread out, right? So you need to be a whale to get the real benefit.
Yes and no. So if you do the liquidation, you get
like a bonus or something.
You get some of the US what would actually be LUSD. So you get a $200 LUSD deposit, which frankly is probably worthless if the stable didn't hold. But then you also get a percentage as well of the pot of the ETH. So you get a small clip on that. But you're right, the lion's share would go into the stability pool. But if you were over there and before you triggered all those events, you went and loaded up on the stability pool, then you would get.
Oh, good point. Yeah, you could put your worthless stables into the stability pool and then pull the trigger on that shit. Yeah. But I really like Bluey's idea. And you know what? It doesn't need to be Liquid Loans that does it. It can be anyone because it's forkable code. So anyone could just, like you said, anyone can just go and do the ETH-W version. It's the same as it's been deployed on every other EVM compatible chain, right? Someone just has to do the front end.
Yeah.
And then
you just need a price feed. As soon as you've got a price feed, then you're right.
That could be a problem because I'm told that we don't have any oracles on ETH-W yet.
Yeah, but price feeds can come from.
You can use Uniswap as a price feed.
Yeah, so there's the fact that you've got exchanges listing ETH in a US dollar value means you've got a means to pull price feeds.
Okay. Oh, so they can be from. Okay.
Yeah. So it's probably pretty trivial to do, to be honest.
I guess Liquid Loans would be relying on multiple price feeds, or a service that does multiple price feeds. And
if you want to do it prop, like you could pull the trigger on it and fire it up and do a bit of a
test
hack to get your price feeds working. But if you want to do it properly for long term, then you want to make sure you got oracles and quality price feeds and things like that.
Yeah.
But
I guess someone can manipulate if it's only coming from Uniswap, the price feed. Then
we know of at least half a dozen exchanges that have got price feeds now,
but not with ETH-W stuff necessarily. Like not with but not with stables versus.
Doesn't need to be.
Oh, okay, so you just get the price in ETH-W and then you look at the pairs of ETH-W.
Yeah.
Okay,
so as long as you've got the US dollar value of ETH-W from wherever,
somewhere else,
yeah.
I guess the best argument for why it would be probably better for someone to do it who has either done it before or the Liquid Loans team who have been deeply thinking about all the aspects of deploying it on a new chain, as opposed to someone like me just being like, I'm going to go and fork the code and put it on there. Like you said, you're more likely to end up with a robust solution that's going to stand the test of time if it's someone who has either experience or has done the research and taken the time to sort of implement it with as well as possible.
I reckon give it time. All this stuff will fire up. Like if the main.
I want the shit now.
Yeah. Like things, liquidity is a legitimate thing that could fire up very easily. I don't think Chainlink was ever going to come across. So all your RVs and makers that rely on Chainlink,
I think Chainlink already said they're not going to support.
So why didn't Liquidity work on ETH-W? Why doesn't it?
Front end? I think you need the front end.
Is that all it is? It's like you just have to change.
No, they would have needed
settings.
So their price feed contract is hard coded, so there's no admin key. So if you don't have the price feed over there, that price feed contract's broken.
Okay. And who's their price feed with?
They use Chainlink and Teller.
Oh, okay. So that doesn't work, and therefore they're broken over there, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. There's a lot of protocols that are like that. So that's why hexagons are over there having a ball, because all our shit works.
Because everything else for all of those other guys is broken. Yeah. So does anyone know who was behind setting up the ETH proof of work? It's a group of miners, huh?
Yeah, I think there was one guy in particular that sort of headlined.
And they had no plan for oracles or anything like that, hey?
I think their plan was, how do we keep making money off the chain?
Yeah.
How do we keep mining? Yeah. How do we keep our businesses
running? They're not making very much money on transactions because the transactions are so low over there.
You'd still have block rewards though.
In ATW.
So you get the block subsidy. So I'm actually I've actually got my miners mining Ethereum Classic, and
really?
I'm actually thinking of switching to ETHW even if it's less profitable, because I'm actually using the chain, right? Like, as in, I don't use Ethereum Classic for anything, so I might as well support the network that I'm actually doing shit on. And then also that would actually give me a bag of ETHW over time that I can use to buy Hex, or you know what I mean? Like, I would actually be mining a token that I actually want to use for shit, rather than when I mine ETC, all I'm ever going to do is just sell it into something else.
What do you think this has done to show? Like, what do you think this is? What do you think RH is probably looking at this? And he hasn't said anything.
He hasn't said shit, eh?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, okay, does that mean that ETW is kind of like competition to Pulse? It's because it's kind of doing the same thing.
It definitely stole all its narratives. Well, not all of them, but some. It stole the world's largest airdrop narrative. It stole the like Ethereum, but with cheaper fee, faster transaction shit for now. But that's the same of any chain. That cheap, fast fees is only a matter of your blocks filling up. Like, it's not.
So how do you think Richard is looking at this? Like, what do you think his vibe is with it? Like,
I think so. I've told you what the negatives are in terms of lost narratives. I think the positives that are going to come out of this is the learning experience that all of us, like Hex community, but also devs that build Hex shit, and also Richard himself and his direct devs for Pulse Chain, are going to get massive data on what went wrong, what went right. You know, how do people behave? What were the main things that were like either missing or fucked up when the chain started, that we could make sure. So I think the pros is going to be, we're going to end up with a smoother, more powerful launch for Pulse than we would have if it had been the other way around. So that's my balancing act: lost narratives versus smoother launch. Everyone can decide what they think was more important.
But you say lost narrative, but I don't think it's all lost. They forked it, but they're going to be in the same position where they've still got 13-second block times. They're going to get full. It's going to get expensive. So you are still bringing a chain with more capacity to market, and it's going to be proof of stake, which obviously is what the Ethereum now is, but fees aren't any cheaper. Block times.
Well, ETH proof of work will only get slow and expensive if it achieves high levels of adoption, which will be, so you kind of have you could call that a win-win or a lose-lose, like, as in, but I do agree with what you're saying in general, though, that don't worry, I'm still incredibly excited for Pulse. I'm like,
I reckon it's
frothing for it.
No, I think this has been awesome because it's shown that. So we've forked a chain, and Hexicans have created value on that chain for themselves. Like, they've just gone and owned it over there. So we know how to play that game a little bit better now.
It's been madness, and the free advertising.
So what do you think, though, about the difference between, okay, we've got a choice now. Like, I've gone onto the ETW one. I haven't gone onto the ETF.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of ETF.
Oh, you're not? How come you're not a fan?
Not a fan.
I think it's going to get diluted. Everything's going to get diluted so much.
Well, that's my point. So, like, with all of these new chains, everything does get diluted to an extent.
If you look at the network effect of what has been achieved on ETHW within like the last 72 hours or whatever, compared to what is on, it's just not even comparable. The lead that ETHW has taken in network effect is just, I think it's not able to be caught up. Like, I think the lead that they just smashed it, just absolutely smashed it. in every metric. I know, but that probably makes what I'm saying more powerful. That so in such a short amount of time, they have been able to develop it, just smashed it in every metric, man. Centralized exchange adoption smashed it, absolutely dominated. Like one's on like all the major exchanges, one's on virtually very few exchanges that you've never heard of. Dex Screener shows, like if you look at all the volumes and shit like that, the amount of volume traded, all of that sort of stuff just absolutely dominated on mining hash rate. Like you name a metric, ETHW is absolutely crushing it. And for me, the thing I like the least about ETH Fair or whatever is their freaking acronym. Their freaking acronym is the same as electronically traded fund.
Yeah,
the same acronym as a legacy product, man. I'm like, that's terrible, man. That's terrible marketing.
Yeah. And so
their Telegram group is a mess. They admined a scammer and who started like pinning comments that about like trying to send people to the wrong shit. It's just a joke. Their branding, their network adoption, the rate at which they have, it's like one launched like a rocket ship and the other one's just like took a hammer and smashed his own hand apart. Like it was just a joke, just an absolute joke. Look,
ready for launch.
We've got Hex. We're ready for launch. Ow. We've got Hex over there. So if it does well, incredible, amazing.
Yeah.
Like as in, it's
awesome.
I wish it all the best. But when I look at the metrics of those two chains that launched virtually at the same time, the difference is just massive, just absolutely massive.
Yeah, I saw,
and I don't have the time. I spent a full day on ETH proof of work chain, dumping all my ERC20s, dumping all my stables, thinking about what I was doing and doing all this stuff. I don't have time to do that.
You get fatigued, don't you?
You just get like, and because I did all of that with adrenaline. I'm like, quick, I've got to dump this shit. Like, so
you're explaining exactly what I just went through today, man. I was like, I can't do it again.
I don't think I can do it again.
That's funny.
Also, I saw a stream, one of Jim Rat's streams last night, or part of it, where Bullish was explaining what you have to do to get ETH.
Get money over there.
Fair, like ETH Fair in there. And part of the steps was you've got to download a Web3 wallet that's not MetaMask and use their Web3 wallet. And I'm like, not only the risk, but the CBF factor, like the can't be fucked factor of having to download a wallet that's not MetaMask just to interact with this chain. It was one of the main reasons I never interacted with, was it Solana or Phantom that had their own, you had to have their own wallet, and I'm like, deal breaker, see ya. Crypto's time consuming enough without them having extra hurdles that you've got to jump over to make it work. Like it's so yeah. I think ETH, if you had to pick between the two, ETHW is already the clear winner. Yeah. But if you've got the time and inclination, just be careful using their custom software. That alarm bells were going off when I heard that step. I was like, what?
Yeah, that'd be it. That's a showstopper for me. I wouldn't be.
That's a showstopper.
Yeah. I think there's still plenty more juice you could squeeze out of this fork anyway, so you don't have to go doing anything stupid. So,
do you think it's going to change what you do when Pulse Chain comes out, or how you're going to prepare for it?
In terms of stablecoin, my plan for stablecoins, it's affirmed what I was going to do, so that was good. I would be a lot more careful on Pulse Chain because to me that's a lot more serious. It's a lot long term. I think there's going to be a lot more value on the network long term. This was a totally unexpected, just a freebie. Get over there and just be degenerate and act fast and get what you can, sort of thing. And whereas I'd be a lot more considered.
Look at the things that got built by the Hex community, just purely to do with Hex, like websites and Staker app and things that the quality and the artistic design, like the way that things look and feel, the UI UX insane. Imagine that sort of enthusiasm on Pulse Chain. It is going to be, it's going to be a world, like a digital world, that even the most enthusiastic RH maximalists will not be able to predict how fucking incredible this thing is going to be. Like, my expectations are sky high, and I reckon even then, I'm going to get my mind blown. Like, I've never been as excited for anything within crypto as Pulse Chain. I mean that.
No, I agree. I reckon it's a massive opportunity, and the biggest airdrop thing is still valid. Like, people, it's free coins, man. People are going to line up for that. And what I think the big difference is the amount of people, not only within the immediate Hex community and Pulse community, but every man and his dog has sacrificed for this. The network effect is I think going to be bigger than what we've seen on ETHW. ETHW feels big for us because it was very Hex centric, but it was probably a very small group of people in essence that were over there doing all this stuff. Whereas I think with the Pulse Chain, that's going to be a much, much broader audience that come across for that. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it, actually. This was a really good dry run. And actually, before what you mentioned, big shout out to Alex, Dipcatcher, who else? All the guys. Yeah, all the guys that worked really, really fast to make all the tools available.
Badasses,
on
man.
The chain. Yeah, that was
crazy. How quick he could do it all. Like, it's just like, yep, okay. I mean, maybe it's just a matter of changing some settings for some of these people. Hey, it's like a lot easier than you think. I don't know.
Regardless, though, the speed at which they stepped up. So yeah, in the chat group that I made on Telegram for Hex on Ethereum proof of work, and by the way, if you guys want to come in, I'll make you guys admins. I was originally going to have a rule that it's like, because obviously when it's a chain, you have that situation where people just start shilling absolute garbage. So I was going to make a rule that chat was actually dedicated literally just for Hex on that chain. But I decided to also allow Hedron and Maxi and Icosa and those products mainly because of how supportive those guys were to getting Hex and Hex related shit operational on that new chain. I was so impressed. And the other things I'm allowing is any talk to do with stables, bridges, and privacy products. Those are all allowed. Everything else is not allowed. So just a quick shill for the. Did I already shill it on this stream? So it's t.me/hex on ETHW, all in one word, is the official Telegram. It's blown up, man. So many people were keen for a Telegram group to do with that specific combination of Hex on ETHW. And it's really good.
Are we having those West? Is it Coast or Coast? Is that the name of the guy? Is he coming on? Was he going to come on?
No, not tonight. No. I've got to.
Okay.
I think it's once again it's the time zone thing. I've got to.
That's pretty exciting to me. Like, he's been doing the rounds, and
yeah,
I think it's incredible what those guys are doing. It sounds like the perfect solution. Well, the most perfect solution that we can have because we need a stable.
So I've fill me in on this.
So the way they're structuring. So firstly and foremostly, it's about bringing a stable coin pegged to fiat and backed by fiat, but done in a way where they're not the custodians of it. So the general gist is rather than, so let's say you want to use the CST token, which is their stablecoin. If you take like a true USD model, you send in some dollars to true USD and they mint the true USD token. And those dollars go into a company bank account where they're the custodians of it. This one's done using some different sort of structure where it's a single bank account, but it's owned by the users and not by the actual company. So they can't abscond with the money or can't do anything untoward with it. And if for whatever reason something happened, then whoever holds the token would have a right on a right of ownership of the actual assets in the bank account. I can't remember. There was a specific term they used to describe what that was, held on behalf of or something like that.
If that could actually be set up, like it sounds like the legal structure for that should be doable. Like
it's a thing that exists.
It should be possible to structure something like that. That sounds like a reasonable thing in terms of my knowledge of legacy systems, that you have that structure, and then the bank account is just in the name of the project rather than in someone's name, right?
So I'm not sure the specifics of how it's legally done and all that, but it seems, from what I heard, it seems pretty reasonable approach.
He spoke in detail about all the regulatory stuff, and he really, from the interviews I've heard, he really knew his back to front. And it sounds like they are just the software layer, so they have no custody at any time, and so part of because that way they don't need a money moving
transmitter license.
Transmitter license.
That could then be used as a blueprint for all DAO and DAO.
Well, that's what I was really curious about. Things like, I'm curious about other projects that need stables, but don't necessarily have, like Liquid Loads. It don't necessarily have the stable to fiat that something like this service provides. And I was wondering, and it sounds like you can just plug and play for all of these other services. Like Liquid Loans could use something like that.
But I don't think they need to, because I think the structure of LL is fine already.
But to get back out into fiat, you will. Doesn't matter how what kind of coin. If you can't get it back into fiat.
So I think there's a use case for both.
Just not directly.
Trustless, as much trustlessly as possible. That's what these guys are offering.
That's right.
It's just a software layer. It's like TUSD, where you just basically send you buy TUSD on Uniswap or whatever, and then you can just send it to them, and then you put in your bank account details, and they'll just forward the money over to.
So but remember, it's only one extra step to go from LUSD or USDL, what do you want to call it, and then just swap that into TUSD, and then tell TUSD to give.
But that's why I'm thinking it's an amazing solution for everybody.
So there's different layers to that though. So there's so I've been speaking to the Coast guys for months now, just on and off in Telegram and things like that. So everyone's sort of communicating, and there's an interest in what all the different projects are doing. Theirs is, you're right, Bluey, that is probably the best way you could have a fiat on and off ramp, is no custody, least amount of risk as possible, but there is still regulatory risk there. Whether, no matter how you slice and dice it, there's regulatory risk there. But you're almost
pushing trustlessness out into the legacy system that is notorious for being trust-based. A little bit. You're not actually
you can never get rid of it though. That's the problem. You can't get rid of it completely.
But you're shifting. So you're at least eliminating the component of risk where the project lead, the bank account's in their freaking name, where they can just go and buy yachts, right? You're at least removing that step of the risk, and then you go to the next layer of risk, which is the same that everyone has when they have dollars in a bank. So you're at least pushing the trustlessness of crypto out by one ring that you would normally not have, right?
That's fine. Okay, so just a couple of things that come to mind, and I really want to have these guys on the show so we can
that'd be cool
all around. So a couple of things that I sit there and go, okay, that's good. FDIC insurance, if you've got a single bank account, is that limited to 250K? If you've got billions of dollars sitting in one of these trust accounts,
but that whole FDI insurance, that whole
it's a load of shit. Yeah.
Everyone knows
I was thinking that.
It's a marketing term for them, Everyone knows. Then no one's getting any money.
That's right.
If that insurance,
you're all screwed. They'll do bail-ins and stuff anyway. So. So it's not a big issue, but I'm just saying you can't that's something you need to consider. So you can't get rid of all the risk. And the other thing that I brought up in the chat with these guys was, are they going to have to implement something like Elliptic, which is what all the big exchanges use, and a lot of even Wirex and things like that have credit cards. And basically Elliptic is just monitoring all the transactions in and out of that company's wallets. So on-chain transactions that are coming in, and doing analytics on that to see, I don't know, has it been through Tornado Cash? Has it done this? Is it related to any of these hacks? Yep.
You're
so
right.
that may be that may be something that
God.
they still have to deploy on their side. So that
it sounded to me like it sounded to me like they were trying to get away with the least amount as possible.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but I mean, they can't control lawmakers coming in
exactly.
saying, no, you have to do this.
Not being a money transmitter may mean they don't have to do that, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
Also, tell them to just put something on their website that comes up with a little thing and be like, you're not allowed to use this website if you're doing any illegal shit, or if these funds are not legit, or if you're on any sanctions list. Check this box to say that you agree with this fucking shit. Otherwise, you're not allowed to use the site. They check the box and you're like, oh, they promised.
Isn't that what 1inch does now if you're in the US?
Yeah, yes. It's
I promise I'm not in the US.
That's right. I promise I'm not using a VPN.
Solved. Problem solved.
There's things like that. You're never going to get rid of that layer there.
Well, you're going into you're going into a trust system. So
that's right.
So I guess the point I should have made, rather than saying, oh, look, well, like this stable coin's only an extra step away from that shit, is the most important thing in a stable coin is the trust and belief. So I should use the word belief, not trust, because trust has a specific meaning in crypto, right? It's the belief that is worth $1, so that you can continue to trade it with other people for $1. And you know that you are going to be able to do that in future. It's the fact that, like, the belief that it will stay valued at $1 that allows then everyone to do that relative trading. So you don't actually need a stable coin to be able to be redeemed for $1.
No.
You don't actually need that for a stable coin to work.
If everyone believes that's going to happen, that's enough.
All you need is everyone to agree that it is worth $1. So I love the fact that they're trialing this this idea of trying to kind of like push those boundaries in a primarily trustless way, or as trustless as possible. But I also don't.
I'm just trying to think why other entities don't do that, and I guess
I was thinking the same thing.
Well, I think it comes down to that is a profit center. So imagine you've got $1 billion sitting in a bank account, not being as productive as what it should be. That's even if it's only earning a fraction of a % of interest.
But the synthetic version of it can go out on crypto and be way more productive than those real world dollars.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. But if you're a business that has real world business costs and you want to make a profit and things like that, then that's a profit center for them. So I don't know how they're handling their business model. I know there's a fee, obviously, for minting and things like that, which is totally reasonable. You'd expect there to be. But if these funds are sitting in an account that can't be leveraged in any way, that's totally different.
My argument would be that if you say, oh, look, this is sort of a wasted capital or whatever that it could be putting to use, the use that it is being put to is giving the legitimacy to that.
No, I totally agree.
That is its use case. So it is actually being put to use as a legitimate backing of that synth.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, I think the temptation for other companies has been if they've got this
sorry, good
pot,
point. Yes. Sorry. So, you weren't criticizing the structure. You were saying the likely reason why it has not happened in the past is the temptation is too great to say, well, we can double up here and actually put this to use. And then next minute, Marco and his buddies are building premium condos down on the ocean. And like, do you know what I mean? Like someone will be doing some kind of like freaking property development scam or something with the money, being like, we'll have that money back in the account before anyone notices it's even gone. We're gonna take this half a bill, build out this luxury resort, gonna make Trump Towers look like a freaking like Tic Tac, and then we'll just put the money straight back in. Easy done. Before the next bear cycle, and then
before the next bull.
Yeah, before the next, whenever, would it be the bull or the bear where people would be wanting to take their stables out? Well, that's the other thing, that typically if people have got that level of trust, they don't actually go and redeem the stables. Why would you? You want your shit to be in the crypto world ready as dry powder to buy dips. You don't actually want to go and get dollars. I mean, unless
then you're adding steps to get back in if you need to.
Unless you're trying to do something where the legacy systems are going to show you respect. So if you're like, I want to do this thing and I need to prove to this bank that I actually have the financial capacity to do this thing, then maybe that would be a reason to exit. But other than that, for me, I always want to be on the crypto side of that equation.
Yep. Yeah. At least you've got control of all your funds and.
Bros, I realized, and I kind of already knew this at the start, but it really hit me the other day where I was like, if I ever needed to ever again go to a bank for anything, like a car, a house, to start a business, anything, they would be like, you cannot afford that shit. Like, as in, it would not, well, they would be like, we're definitely not loaning you a single dollar. Like that is never going to happen.
I've actually been going around to banks and like sussing out like how much their accounts cost and everything like that, and just wanting to go and meet them as well.
Yep.
And they are so dead. Like you go into a bank now and everyone has loads of time, and there's this like, it's just like, and like I took a meeting with someone, and he was so weird. He had like the full mask on, right? And when he was going to see me, he put gloves on.
What kind of meeting was this one, Bluey? You might have went to the wrong office,
it was to get a bank account, and then I started like talking to him, and he finds out that I'm into crypto, and he gets really excited, and we just basically start talking like crypto for like most of the time, and his whole attitude towards me completely changed, and he was like, as opposed to someone he had to deal with, all of a sudden he got excited and got like, so it's like really friendly and stuff, and like
I actually have had a chat about crypto in a bank. I never thought I would do that. I thought I would never admit in a bank that I have crypto, because you get put on some kind of blacklist or something, but I actually have had that happen. Bro, over here, I get letters, like hard copy letters from banks saying, we're shutting down this branch. Sorry for the inconvenience. We're shutting down this branch. It's literally blockbuster spec. It's shocking to me that people haven't realized yet. Like, we're still in the minority of people that realize that crypto is taking over the financial system.
It's bizarre here in America because there's loads of bank branches. Like, there's tons of them.
Don't worry, bro. America also had the last ever blockbuster to stay open. That was in America as well. It's just it's just the higher population, man. They had more branches to start with. It's going to happen over there as well. I guarantee it.
They charge a lot.
They can't compete. They can't compete.
Yeah, that's true. But they can compete in terms of the place where you need for fiat bank account. Basically,
yeah, they can.
I can't get around it.
They can compete currently in regulatory capture and noobs that are too scared to self-custody, which is actually, you know what? That's actually probably the biggest one. That's probably the biggest one, because people are so scared to be self-sovereign and so scared to be free and so scared to take responsibility for themselves that will actually probably be their best, like in terms of that last stand battle where crypto is just dominating and banks are failing. people being scared to be self-sovereign, I think, will be their best asset.
Yeah, until you get people being able to be paid their wages easily, and I'm sure there's probably services out there that do that route between your paycheck and crypto. I'm sure there'd be a service out there that does all that. But until most people need a bank account just to get their bloody income.
Guys, I just reminded myself by saying that of this epic quote I heard. This was brilliant. I think I tweeted it out at the time. When an incumbent in an industry is being replaced by technological innovation, their greatest asset becomes their greatest liability. And the example they gave is, say Blockbuster, their greatest asset was all the buildings and real estate. They had so many storefronts. You could say the same thing for clothes shops and shit like that, like bookstores, everything that had brick and mortar. Their strength was in the fact that they had locations in every city in the world. Once shit went digital, so I think that quote was specifically for like digital technological evolutions or revolutions. So the fact that you had strength in the physical world became your biggest liability, because now it's a cost. Now you've got the cost of all those buildings to maintain, whereas your digital competition does that shit. They have no overheads. They have none of that shit. So it's like the shit that gave them the epic strength and allowed them to be basically a monopoly is the thing that actually undoes them and allows them to makes them easily undermined by the technological version, by the digital version. So banks are experiencing that now with all their high-rise buildings and branches and physical networks and things like that exist, you know? Pretty epic.
I might try and make a little bit of a segue from that about adoption. Now, we don't normally shoe other projects that aren't sort of Hex related here on this show, but there's one that I think is okay to talk about because it's not going to take any.
Actually, sorry, Jexa, before you start that story, what's the time limit on us? Have we got half an hour left?
I don't know. Day 43 usually manages all of that stuff. We just talk
until we do. I think we have half an hour left. Yeah.
I think I only got at least 20 minutes.
Half hour more? Okay, cool. Yeah. Sorry, I just saw the time and thought that overlap thing that people cry about, you know?
Yeah, no, I can ask them BS.
Can you ask them?
Yeah. So this project doesn't cost anyone anything. Is not going to take financial energy away from Hex or anything else that we know and love.
Beautiful.
Is good for adoption because the barrier to entry is just the cost of a gas fee, and might be launching in a couple of weeks. And that's the one that Jack Levin's done, the Zen. I don't know if you've had a look at it. I
had a little look at it. It looks quite interesting.
Yeah. So I hadn't looked at it until today, and I went, okay, I keep seeing it pop up. I'll go have a look at it. And I thought, it's probably going to be another sacrifice and all that. Nothing like any of that. So the tokenomics are pretty cool. And literally, if you've got someone that's thinking about getting into crypto, they can essentially come in with zero risk. So all they've got to do is go through a minting process to mint some Zen. And I won't go into the details of all the tokenomics, but the only cost is the gas fee to do it, and you can basically do a lockup.
So on ETH chain?
Yeah.
And
this lasts
on ETH. So it's
and this lasts like 50 years or something. Like the people be able
the mint process. So if you think of the minting like mining, I think it peters out after 8 years or something like that.
8 years.
Do you know the website for people to go to?
I think it's Fair Cryptos /
It's Telegram. It's a Telegram chat, which where you want to probably go.
Now, normally we don't sort of cover too much on this show, but I think I think the intentions are pretty good on it, and it is that thing that even if you've got people that you've onboarded into Hex, this is something you can say, guys, go check this out, and it's something else they can get involved in.
Well, similarly, that weight token is also just a
no risk, So I think
no risk free kind of thing to get, you know.
But I think when you go and you listen to Jack talk, the reason why he's doing it is the whole ethos of buy and hodl is great, but it doesn't actually further the spread or the adoption of crypto, because people hold it and don't want to use it for spending and things like that. They're using it as an investment as opposed to a technology that can sort of be broadcast and teach people what it's all about. So that's why I really like this one, is it seems to be that no risk way you can get your bloody mum into having to play
using
with a bit of crypto.
MetaMask and Uniswap and all of that kind of thing, hey?
Yeah, and I'm now how you connect and all that, that's obviously a whole nother challenge of onboarding people. But it has very similar
so any address can basically just go and mint it, hey? So what's to stop people? So what's to stop people from creating farms which just like create addresses and mint it?
There's nothing to stop it.
Yeah.
So sorry, I just have a quick drink.
Like run a bot, that just runs through and just
creates address and then claims this stuff. Creates address, claims this stuff.
A small negative incentive to discourage people from doing that is there is a risk that this thing could just be worth zero. And then if you're doing that to an extreme, the ETH gas is not cheap. The ETH gas is not cheap. So you actually are paying a smaller. So if someone goes through and does that, they actually are paying for every single claim that they do.
You nailed it. That's exactly what Jack said. He said, that's fine. That actually gives the token a base cost.
Value sort of thing. Yeah. It's so like someone has been willing to pay that amount for the token.
And it's only a small amount, but if someone goes and lines up 2,000 addresses and
it'll be a not insignificant amount of money. Like it'll be.
So you've got to do the claim phase. So there's a gas transaction. Then you've got to do the mint phase, another gas transaction.
Oh, okay. So you can accrue days, and is there something like that with like?
Yeah,
like from when you claim to when you mint.
Yeah, it's not accrued days. It's not straightforward. I think the first lockup period is 100 days or something like that. There's quite a few mechanics to the tokenomics, and some of it I've absorbed. Some I need to go back and just let it sink in a little bit. There's like a rewards early adoption sooner. So so there's a few mechanics like that. Where
has it started?
No, not yet. It's on testnet, and I think it's out for audit at the moment.
It's interesting, and the idea is just to get as many people as possible, basically with a worthless token. Like it's not going to be.
It's a network effect thing. Yeah, so it's about the network effect and just getting.
Will people do it? Will people do it if it's not going to be worth? Because I mean, like there's tons of faucets. You can get all sorts of cryptos. You know, you can forever and a day. You can keep getting more cryptos.
Oh, I think even just as a. Even just is that its only value case is in terms of how equitably it's being distributed?
So it's fairly distributed, no pre-mines and all that sort of stuff, no team tokens, and so it is literally starts from scratch. Everyone's on the level playing field, don't have to buy anything.
And other than that, it's just a cryptocurrency, like as in it's literally
a cryptocurrency. So I think from an adoption, getting people to tinker with this sort of technology, it's pretty low friction.
You have to have that friction, don't you? You have to have that learning. Like people are going to have to at some point learn how to use this stuff.
Yep.
I do have to say that many projects have had that as their ambition
totally agree.
To be like, we want this to be equally distributed and because this is something that we see in crypto, that there's that accusation of centralization of ownership. VCs are always in a better position. The team has most of the tokens or various combinations of those things. And so that ambition to have fair distribution has always been a goal of projects. And then I guess the various attempts to achieve it. So far, we have not seen a successful attempt. This could be successful,
Yeah, I went in open-minded and had a look at it and went, okay, it seems like it's...
Did it seem like roughly those two transactions were as in, because it depends how complex the work.
No, it was
it's
so
cheap, hey?
He gave an example. I think if you do it when it's 5 Gwei, I think the claim process I think was $2, and the mint process was 50 cents or something like that.
Okay. 5 Gwei is quite low though. Like I haven't seen 5.
Yeah.
The lowest I've seen lately has been 12. Like over the last probably couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think if you're not, it's not time.
Yeah. Sorry, you could just actually set it low. Yeah. Which I thought it was a
pretty interesting concept, and if it aids adoption, I reckon it's worth having a little tinker with.
Yeah, sure. Is it related to Hex at all or no? It's just crypto adoption, not Hex. Okay.
Yeah, and I think to be fair, I mean, we've seen a lot of people come into the community and then launch coins off the back of that, and I think he was getting badgered to people were asking when's he's going to launch something, and to his credit, he has done it in a way where it doesn't take economic energy away from anything that exists. So I thought it was pretty clever the way he's done it.
Yeah, sure. It's ambitious. It's an ambitious goal.
Yeah, well, I think it's just.
I just don't see too much incentive for people to get it.
It's like anything, mate. Who puts value on anything? That's
the stuff that. So if you look at the as how things have changed in crypto in terms of what people get wet for. Cryptocurrencies that are just at that layer where it's just a cryptocurrency, unfortunately that narrative died so many years ago, because Litecoin and those coins were just cryptocurrencies. Like that's all they did. They didn't have any, but and look, I'm against all the buzzword for buzzword's sake. Oh, we're using AI and this coin is this and yield that, and I think that's a problem in crypto, is that there's a lot of just using buzzwords to get people wet for it. But I think basically what Bluey was about to say is the excitement around it might not be high with something that is just a cryptocurrency that's seen as being a very basic product. In this era of crypto.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, it's funny when you say that, because the big things that launched over the past 2 years had way less value than that, than something like Zen. So Uni, nothing. It literally has no value.
Yeah, that thing's value was almost based on misconceptions. People had to misunderstand. People had to misunderstand the link between the protocol and the token itself. And it's too late to educate people. Once you tell them, hey, look, that thing you're holding is not actually technically worth anything, they've already seen the price chart go up, and they're like, well, the chart disagrees with you, bro.
That's it. That's it. No, what you really
that's why
is mass human perception, and that's what whether something has value or not comes down to. And with Uni, it was just this loose association. Oh, it's an exchange. Oh, people earn money. Oh, their token, if they have more users, that must go up in value.
Yeah.
That was the mass perception. And
I guess the other thing is network effect on if what you want to achieve with your token is to have it adopted for and have velocity within that monetary network, it needs to be accepted for payments at places. And a new token is really going to struggle with that, because you're not integrated into any of these BTC
old tokens struggle with it.
even old tokens struggle with being on those lists of accepted currencies.
So in my mind, this one is a harmless play where at worst,
it's definitely not a scam.
You've learned how to use it. You've learned how to use crypto.
Do you think it will be a good onboarding tool?
It does not appear to be a scam.
Will it be a good onboarding tool? That's what his criteria for his success is. He wants to onboard tons of people. And so it's like, will this be a massive onboarding tool?
Who knows?
It really depends, hey, how they...
The part that I definitely agree with is better than what the ones that just try to airdrop everyone and get like adoption through doing like the freemium thing. We'll just airdrop everyone these tokens and then they might start using it. That's nonsense.
PP is going to be interesting in that sense because they're going to do the biggest, they're going to have the most eligible wallets so far ever.
Oh, I think that's okay. Subtle difference I want to point out with that one is because they based the list off off a list of people who did provide economic energy. It's a little bit different to these ones where they just literally airdrop Ethereum addresses.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
With no, like you know,
they're
what I
not
mean?
going after news. They're going after people who at least have had some kind of experience.
Not
because they've at least got. They've bought.
I'm more talking psychologically that you're telling people, look, the reason that you're getting this is because you did commit value. So that it's a little like. So that people won't just treat it like, oh, I just got airdropped like this, just like every other Ethereum address in existence.
Like uni.
So it's literally worthless. Well, no. Uni also had criteria. Uni had criteria. You had to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You done.
Oh, sorry, you're saying like it is like uni. Yes.
Oh, but
yes.
You transacted. You done.
Yeah, you showed you knew how to use Uniswap.
You're saying PP is like uni in terms of that they've got a criteria of who they're airdropping to, as opposed to these ones where they just fucking rapid fire, like shotgun blast sort of thing. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, interesting. I'm fine with anything that's not like an outright scam or it like is actually damaging, like, and actually has a negative impact of, you know what I mean? Like this, it's. If someone wants to roll the dice, it's not huge negative impacts, you know?
Yeah. Yep. No, we haven't, Pulse Chain hasn't even launched and we've already seen a few rugs already. So, yep, it's going to happen.
Did you guys hear about how Craig Wright and Hodlnaut are having that legal battle right now over in the, I think it's Holland, is it in Holland?
Yeah, I seen there was like a 3-hour stream popped up, and I'm like, I'm not watching him.
Yeah, so
to find out what he's got to say.
I think what you saw was the unmodified witness testimonies. So they've been uploading because they obviously allow filming in their courts. I don't think we have that over here in Australia. I don't think.
What's the basic case? Can you tell us what this? I don't know.
Oh, it's a defamation suit of
another one. Okay,
Craig Wright suing someone for saying that he is fraudulently claiming to be. Well, possibly. It's funny that you say that because probably the most interesting part of this case is the fact that it was an anonymous Twitter user, and he had to get courts to compel Twitter to reveal the identity of this user so that he could sue them. So that was probably the most interesting point for me in terms of a privacy component of the court was that now there are laws that these big tech companies do have to
give
reveal
up your identity,
reveal who you are or information that could lead to, because if you use your phone number or an email or whatever to sign up, that can probably be linked back to you. So, so Hodlnaut, who was an anonymous Twitter user, effectively got doxxed by this court case. Because if you can show that you've got like a legal reason to need that person's identity so that you can slap them with a court case. What's the word for it? Where you summons them?
Isn't this what?
Serve them.
Serve them, yeah.
Wasn't it in the case where Hexagons were bringing up against CoinMarketCap?
Yep.
And sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
There were unknown. They tried to serve. They
tried to. Oh no, sorry, it's a different one. Yeah, this one. They tried to serve the Binance people and the judge allowed them to do that to serve them via Twitter. Is that right? Or he didn't allow them?
It was either Twitter or Telegram or something like that. They're allowed to do it digitally.
Serve the Twitter handle.
Yeah.
Did you do that in a DM or you just public one? Served.
You just get this DM that says
you do it as a meme, wouldn't you?
Right.
The most hilarious part of this court case is that Craig has already been caught out in lies multiple times under oath. So he's been lying and getting caught in lies under oath. Well, I hope so. I hope that someone, like whether it's the court system
is
itself,
American courts?
No. It's in like Holland or something. Like it's in Hoddle-Noort's country of origin or whatever. I think it's the Netherlands.
Craig Wright really gets around, so he's suing people in Dutch courts now.
That was another interesting thing, was that most of the most of these like nuisance court cases that he's been doing, where he's been suing Bitcoiners for calling him a fraud, have been closed court, like no cameras and stuff like that. So this is the first time that everyone's now seeing how ridiculous his shit is. So it's actually, and so I think this was a really bad move for him. Like I think this one is going to undo him, because bro, the most hilarious thing. So
he hasn't been outdone already.
Bitcoin Magazine has got, like Jexa said, they've got the full witness testimonies that are like 3-hour-long videos, but then they've also got like little recap videos. And I saw this one clip of Craig Wright going, no, that's not how Bitcoin works. It doesn't have any cryptography. There's no cryptography in Bitcoin. And me signing a transaction from a Bitcoin wallet is meaningless. The way that Bitcoin works, and look, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but this is basically what he said. The way that Bitcoin works is you KYC to the blockchain, you prove your real world identity, and then a court says who owns the Bitcoins or something like that. And I was like, is this guy on drugs, clinically insane, totally retarded, or some combination of the three? He basically, like, when he said this shit, that he's like, no, you prove your identity, and then that's how you prove you own the Bitcoins. You don't sign. And I was just like, bro, that's the exact opposite of how Bitcoin works. What the shit? Like, it was ludicrous. It was ludicrous that fortunately they've got expert witnesses that would have come on, like I didn't see, but they would have come up and been like, bro, that's actually not how Bitcoin works. Everything he said.
I have to watch it because it might have been taken out of context. He might have been saying, how do you prove ownership?
Maybe he was saying how you try to compel a court, like how a court could possibly compel someone to have to send the Bitcoin to you, or if they say that they're his, maybe I'm not sure, but it just sounded ridiculous.
It'd be interesting to watch it. Yeah,
as
much as I'd love Satoshi to be an Australian just for bragging rights, God, I hope it's not him.
And then
embarrassing.
There was another one where he said he gave a copy of the white paper, like that he sent it for like peer review to like a number of these like OG cypherpunks, and one of them just immediately contacted Hoddle-Noort's lawyers and go, hey, he said under oath that he sent me that shit, and he never sent me that shit. He's like, I found out about Bitcoin the same way as everyone else. I downloaded the fucking code and the white paper off the internet. Like, so he's lied under oath. It's like it's just so ridiculous, man. It's so ridiculous. So yeah, that's a bit of fun. That ends.
Right, I'll have to find the short versions of those clips then.
I think tonight might be like the final night, like as in it's their day, our night. I think it might be ending, but then to get a decision, it can take like months. So the court case ends soon, but the decision won't be made for ages.
Cool. Hey, just a really good video that I did watch recently was KG's interviewing the Kyberswap guy.
Oh, someone else recommended that to me as well. How was it?
Yeah, it
good.
It was really good, really interesting, and Kyberswap sounds awesome. Very, yeah. It sounds like it's a good DEX, and they have a interesting kind of background as well.
That's good to hear because I've been using it a lot.
I know someone did post there was some hack or something that happened.
Yeah, I looked into that. It was just a front.
Yeah, and he responded to that. He responded to that quite extensively in this interview.
So what was the
It was just a front. It was just a front.
It's a user. It's got nothing to do with their contracts. It was their user interface, and he didn't go into the exact details of how the person hacked into their UI, but they're bringing out reports and stuff, and it sounds like
so they changed the front end to have like malicious code, so that when you thought I guess it was like something else. Then you're signing transactions that you don't actually mean to, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's always my biggest thing. Like you can have rock solid code contracts,
smart contracts, yeah.
But if you go to the front end website,
and especially in decentralized world. So okay, go.hex.com is a front end where you can interact with a protocol, but someone fires up another front end. What's to say it's not doing something malicious there?
Yeah, that's a rational phobia you've got there, Jexo.
Yeah, exactly. Something to be.
And if the thing that you happen to be doing is large scale, like if that's the one time that it's hacked and you go, because so the defense against it is a bit like how I drive through the tunnel in Perth. Is I just go over the speed limit every time and I'll get a fine if they ever install a camera in there, and that's how I'll know, right? So, i.e., if you're on these protocols and you do something and suddenly the funds that you just did are gone, and you didn't get the thing that you wanted, you'll know immediately off the first time that it scams you.
I was hacked.
But if between the last time you used it and the time that the hacker changed the code, you happen to be coming there to do something large scale, that's the biggest risk. So, because you know what I mean? Like you'll know immediately if you didn't get what you were expecting out of that transaction. Because they can't fake everything. They can't fake the block explorers. And they can't fake the shit, like, you know what I mean? You'd need to fake so much to keep someone in a bubble believing that their shit is still working correctly. You'd know straight away.
That's the thing about that kind of hack where someone hacks a user interface. You'd think it'd be picked up pretty quickly.
It'd be picked up very quickly, very quickly. Yeah. People would be tweeting about it, like so. Yeah. So their window to scam is small,
incredibly small.
But it's like Jexa said, it's like. You could be the person who comes there straight to be the first person or one of the first people after they just change the code and be really unlucky with the timing, and you're cooked. Because let's be honest, the shit that comes up on the hardware wallet, it kind of annoys me with hardware wallets how you have to click through so many screens, because I'm like, bro, you know that this is too, like, it's all numbers and garbled text that I don't understand.
Yeah, we're not checking anyway. Yeah.
Like,
when people want to check. Yeah, when people want to check, it's like, what are you checking against? How do you?
Yeah, like why am I going through 7 screens of just random characters and numbers?
Yeah, but even like when it comes up in MetaMask, you're signing a transaction, but if it's misrepresenting that in any way,
then you're stuffed.
You know what you're doing.
By the way, I'm really upset. I can't remember the name of the project, but there's a project that's trying to combat that by giving human readable descriptions of what you're signing. I think it might be called like fucking ETH Fire or like shit. It's like they actually DM'd me, so I feel bad that I've forgotten the name of the project. This would be an amazing time to give them a shout out. But there is a project out there. If someone knows it, what I'm talking about, put it in the comments. It's a project that's designed to give you explain to you what you are signing, so that you can go, yep, that's actually what I want. So it looks at what you are about to sign and gives you a human description of what it is that you're signing, and then you can choose whether or not to sign it.
That would be a very useful user interface thing.
Yes,
to have,
indeed.
You know?
Yes,
indeed. Like when we were teaching people crypto, the first thing they did is they wanted to check. Okay, so I've got this thing of this whole string of numbers. How do I know? And I'm approving it. I'm pressing the green arrow. So how do I know that what
the
this
one
is,
the one that you can check
actually,
is you can check that an address that you're sending to matches
mirrors,
the address. But when once it starts becoming like complex smart contracts, you've got fucking no chance. You've absolutely got no chance.
On uni, hey, like, yeah.
Oh, by the way, guys, we're going to need to cut it. So outros. Where can we find you guys? And final comments for the viewers. And then we have to cut it in like less than 2 minutes.
Find me. I'll be here every Tuesday night.
Tuesday morning for me.
I'm not big on the socials and all that. Like I'm around on Twitter and all that. But yeah, if people want to find me, they'll find me. Search for Jexer somewhere, you'll find it.
I'm Hex Tangent.
Yeah.
I'm Hex Tangent. My usual sign out is stay free. And Bluey, any final words?
Blue Bum and stay safe out there in those crypto streets, eh? Don't
when you're going into those back alleys.
Yeah, don't sign too many approvals that you don't know what they're doing.
Have fun on all these proof of work.
Yeah, look, you know what? Now, guys,
treat it like a test net. Treat it like a test net.
Treat it like a test net.
Treat it like a test net where you might actually be able to make money as well. It's like the best of both worlds.
If you've never done, if you've never done something like provide liquidity, now's the time to learn. You've got a whole lot of free tokens over there, and you can actually potentially earn money from providing liquidity. So you got a whole lot of I don't want to tell you what liquidity pools to provide for, but like something like Hex Hedron is probably pretty safe over there. Like they're probably going to maintain the same ratio more or less as Ethereum, although they will have different behaviors over time. But you're not going to get too kind of wrecked doing Hex.
Yeah, man. You can learn how you would do LPs for Pulse Chain right now, low fee, over on that chain. It's and anything else you want to trial as well, like you literally any other shit.
Yeah.
If you're not bringing in value either via exchange or via a bridge, it's all free money. Have a bit of fun.
Gravy, playing with the gravy.
Yep, it's house money.
Yeah.
Boom. All right, we're out.